Hi, I'm the Sad Panda, and this is going to be the 11th episode of my series, I Read This, Should You?, where I give you a review on a book, manga, or web novel that I've read, and you decide whether or not to read it based on the review I give. Of course, I'll only touch on the first 100 chapters or so to not spoil everything, and this is probably going to be one of the shorter ones, because this story I haven't read all that much of. I've read 150 some chapters of it, so of course I only review the first 100 anyway, so it's fine. But it just after that, it just didn't hold my attention. It's called Monarch of Time by Zeus the Olympian. So this book is about a guy named Rock. He doesn't have a name. He was like an orphan or whatever, and he just goes by Rock because of how difficult it is to communicate with him. This guy named Rock, he works at a construction site, and he goes there every day for work because that's the only way he can make money. And he ends up spending time with this guy that he calls his uncle because, you know, he's the only person that's in his life shown him any sort of kindness. And this is a reincarnation fig. So he ends up dying. He saves the life of his uncle, and he ends up dying and gets reincarnated into the body of another dying person named Shun Long. So Shun Long is also dying. So when when his soul is transported into Shun Long's body, Shun Long is also dying, also perishing. Apparently it was from a fight. Shun Long, the character, comes from a bunch of high up cultivation families. So Shun Long as a character doesn't have any spiritual meridians, or they're blocked. So he can't cultivate. So he's in a family of cultivators, but he can't cultivate, so he's looked down on. And so he goes out to try to find a treasure that could unblock his spirit meridians, allowing him to cultivate. So he goes out with two bodyguards because he's still part of this powerful family, but they don't give him enough bodyguards to protect him because he can't protect himself. And he goes into this dark forest and gets attacked by assassins and gets stabbed almost in the heart, right next to it, and is bleeding out, dying. And before his soul leaves his body, Rock's soul enters his body. So Rock doesn't go by that name anymore. He goes by Shun Long. But after he gets transported to this body and he realizes that, oh, I'm going to die, because he was in, the way Rock died is he was crushed in a construction site accident. And so when he woke up in Shun Long's body, he realized that he wasn't under a bunch of steel beams and stuff, but he was still in immense pain from all over his body. And it turns out that these assassins weren't random. They were sent by people in his family, because he's essentially like a prince. He's the second head, because he's the oldest son or whatever. But the other sons, or I don't know if it was what is it, cousin or whatever, killed him to try to get the head of the family seat, you know. In his dying breath, he's he goes on this whole tirade on I will never be put let people push me around. It's for 20 years I was under scorn and hardship, and for 16 years you were under scorn from your peers. It's under no circumstances I'm going to let that happen anymore. And in his declaration, he this jewel comes from the sky, that the treasure that Shun Long was looking for falls from the sky and stops in front of him. He's laying on his back, so stops in front of him, and he's about to get struck by lightning because it's raining. So this is all this stuff is happening at the same time. That's how Shun Long was gonna die. He got stabbed in the chest and left to die, but then he was going to get struck by lightning and the sword or whatever. But right before that happens, time stops, for everyone, everywhere. And the bead slowly enters his skull, presses through his bones and flesh and into his skull, unlocking his spirit meridians, but also healing all the injuries he had, which is broken bones and stuff, which is a super painful process. And he gains the ability to control time to an extent, and unlock his ability to control time to an extent. Later on, it turns out, at least from what I can tell, that Shun Long is, before Rock was in Shun Long's body, Shun Long was already a reincarnator. So in cultivation, after you cultivate to a certain level, you can die, obviously. But when you die, you can go into like the reincarnation cycle, and you can enter, you can be like reborn essentially without your memories or anything, but you will eventually get them back, and then you'll be able to cultivate not from the same place you were, but from like a super head start, so you can get even farther. And that like happens every time you reincarnate. So it turns out Xunlong was already a reincarnator, and the reason why he couldn't like open his spirit meridians is because they were blocked, because the technique that Xunlong's like ancestor used was the Monarch of Time, the Monarch's hourglass. So that's like a breathing technique to unlock your meridians if you have them closed. So overall, this story, I think, is kind of touch and go, right? Because it's kind of cliche. It's not the most original thing in the world. I mean, it's a reincarnation novel. So it's just like if you were to read any other reincarnation novel, protagonist dies, comes back, has great ability, gets really strong. Nothing really sets this story apart for me. And that's why, like, when it comes to reading stories, I need to feel invested. So, like, I need to feel invested in the main characters or the plot or side characters. I am a huge side character fan. I love side characters and like anime and stuff. Like I love like Moon Rider and One Punch Man. Like he's just a good side character. He's like a true hero, even though he doesn't have any skill, that kind of stuff. I just, I just, I just wish that it was more like not more of the same. Because I really like isekai and reincarnation, and I love like overpowered main characters. I love all that stuff. But when it's just done to like the nth degree, like the 40th time that I've read the same story, I can't get invested. And it's just, I'm just not a big fan of it. Like I do like the story. Don't get me wrong. It's just not one of the best things I've ever read. The main character, Xunlong, is kind of like your basic protagonist, gets treated bad, ends up really strong, treats everyone else bad, but gets a bunch of girls or whatever. It's kind of that. Not really. There's romance a little bit, but it's not huge. But he gets like a bunch of like super OP techniques, and he always beats his like enemies. It's like, I just wish he would struggle more, because that would make the fact that he has these powers more interesting. Because like there's a fight that I remember really early on into the story that he doesn't have any skills, but he can like stop time for a second. So like for him, I don't know how long it actually is, but like he just can stop time for like a short period of time, but it like takes a lot of energy. And he fights this guy that's like way stronger than him, but he stops time and beats him. And it's like, that's cool, right? But it would be a lot cooler if like you use that stop time, right? And instead of like just defeating him outright, it like breaks way faster than he like expects. Cause like I don't remember exactly, because I do most of these reviews from memory. When I read stories, the ones that stick in my head, because I read a lot, are the ones that I find are pretty good. And the ones that don't stick in my head all that much, like this one, aren't that good, in my opinion. Of course, you're free and clear to believe what you want and read what you want. That's all you. I don't care. I just want to get my opinion on the story out. I like it. I think it's good, but I just don't think it's like something that if you don't have time to read anything else, like if you finished all the books that you've read, or if you finished all the books that you like, this one would be a good one to just pick up and read for a little bit, but it's not something that I would spend a ton of time on. Like it's 460-ish chapters. I don't know if there's any more. I don't know if there's going to be any more. I think it's updated once a day. I don't know for sure. From what it says on the page, it's updated 8 times a week. So I assume once or twice a day, depending on the mood of the creator. But it's not bad. I can't say it's bad under any circumstances. I can't say it's great under any circumstances. I can say it's mid. It's like a 5 a 5.5, maybe a 6, but like, it's not the greatest. I'm not gonna sit here and pull your chain and say it's really great. I mean, it has great reviews, it has a lot of views, it's got a lot of reads. So, I mean, maybe it's just not for me. I just can't get invested with the main character. I just don't think he's very different to the other characters in like stories like this. If he had like something that sets him apart, like the only thing that sets him apart in these kind of stories is that he can control time. And I don't read that very often, which is why I read so much of it, because, time control is like whenever you ask someone if you want what kind of superpowers they would have, it'd be like, oh, I would love to control time, not me though. I would love to control the weather, like Storm, but like on like the nth degree, like way more powerful. But anyways, it's a mid story. It's not bad, so I wouldn't say don't read it. If it pops up on your like recommended or whatever, give it a shot. It's just I don't want to like continue to read it. You know what I mean? Like right now I'm reading The Homeless Millionaire, and it is hard for me to read because I just can't get invested with the main character. Like I get it. I get what's going on with it. I just, the main character is just like a person that made tough decisions and now he's homeless essentially. He made decisions that, people have to make. And I get that, you want to do something that you want to do, but that's not for this review. So thank you very much for listening to me ramble about this story that I think is just kind of mid. My next review is probably going to be on one of my favorite manga of all time, One Piece. So look out for that. I have one of my friends, I don't know if it'll be done, anime pieces to do like a little thing at the beginning. So I don't know if it's going to be done. So it might not be this next week, or it might not be this next review, but the one after. So I'll have to figure out something in between there. Also, if you like my content, leave a like and please subscribe, leave a comment and I'll respond to it. Also, give me a recommendation on what I should read, because right now I'm kind of in a spot where I don't know what I want to read. Like I'm reading The Homeless Millionaire, but I can't sit down and read that for like multiple hours at a time. So I'm trying to read other stuff as well. I'm trying to play more video games with my friends and stuff, but I just need more recommendations. So if you got a recommendation that I should read, I'll give it a shot. If I've already read it, I'll let you know. Obviously, I respond to all my comments, even the ones that say I'm bad. That's just the way it is. Thank you very much, and have a great day.